just recording lines. Cool, we're starting. Hey again, welcome everybody. It's me and Guillermo. We're back to doing more riffing and showing a live domain modeling of case we've prepared. You were saying anything else, Jeremy, or should we just kind of like jump into it and then show what it looks like?
Yeah, let's just jump into it.
Okay, cool. Do you have the case there?
Yeah.
Or something. I think I lost it.
I'll share this with you real quick.
By the way, I'm using set as the editor. People keep asking in videos and stuff. So it's you can find it on, set.dev essentially if you want to see that. So let's see, do this, and then we're doing okay, and then hide that. So we're going to be looking at these recurring reports where we can allow users to manage a report builder for recurring reports with questions of various types, given out to a set of users or organizations that must complete the report at regular intervals, weekly, monthly, yearly. Keep track of report completion status for each round of reporting. Keep track of report completion status. I'm guessing that implies that it's like per entry or delivered
Yeah, so maybe I
report
should
per
explain.
each person. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to.
so you in this scenario, this is a reconsideration of an architecture in an app that I work in, and so the concept is you have all these questions that you create, and then users or groups need to complete a report based on those questions. So the questions get grouped together into a report. They have to complete the report, and it may be like an annual thing. So there's a 2024 report that needs to be completed, and it may take them a while to get the answers to all the questions prepared. But once they've hit 100%, the report should be complete for them. And then you want to get completions from everyone that a report's due from.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like this ability to create multiple types of reports for different groups of teams or users, and with their own sort of intervals. Like could be that you create one that there's a certain kind of report that needs to go out to this subset that's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and it's going to contain these questions. And part of the challenge with that is that you want to be able to know the answers to the questions for this year, but also compare them to the answers to the same questions in previous years, because you might want to be checking if it's numeric in value. You might want to see how values have changed over time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That's almost like having a report that you could pass in like an older report, and then maybe for each person you could kind of have a thing of comparing. Oh, this was your response last year, and this is your response now. Sort of like compare individually in a way. It might be interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that could be that's actually probably a good idea for the system. I don't think we've done anything like that in the system, but
Okay.
that could be a nice feature.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so we have the recurrent reports. We have users manage a report builder. Okay, yeah, I almost wondered the report builder could be its whole own like rabbit hole of a bunch of different stuff and figure out how to actually build it. So maybe we could just keep it to say that we have some modeling for how these things look in the system before the
Mhm.
builder. I don't know if we're gonna be able to have time for that essentially. Let's see. The builder part, I mean. Questions of various types. Going to set of users or organizations. That's also interesting. I wonder if we just focus on users for now. Let's see if we can get to
Yeah, I think
organizations.
that's probably matters less. Yeah, as long as you can
Yeah.
attach it to something that's responsible for that. Um, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
the questions of various types would mean things like a boolean, like yes or no questions where you enter a numeric value, maybe integer or percentage or things like that, or monetary, like some kind of monetary measure if you're reporting, yeah,
Yeah.
some
Spending
kind of.
or things like that or profit. Yeah. 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 Interesting. Trend reporting. Aggregated and compared over time. Okay. A lot of questions should be added or removed over time. Okay, that's interesting. I wonder what if we just start with like pretty standard report class. See, and then maybe it has many questions essentially. And then maybe something like, oh, maybe it belongs to an interval or something, or it's actually maybe a timing, I think.
Hmm.
I wonder what that looks like. Let's try it. It's timing. I want to just go with that. Uh-huh. A timing here is something to do with either that weekly, monthly
Mhm.
things that are a sense of recurring there.
Yeah.
Recurring could also be its whole own like trap rabbit stuff. So it's like,
Right.
I wonder if we could cut it pretty cleanly for starters. See, like, they're not a person. Cool. Timing. I'm just gonna start with what seems like the most obvious to me here. Uh, see is oh, do this. What is it? Monthly, yearly. Let's try that. See how
Mhm.
that goes.
Mhm.
Kind there for those. And then this will be sort of like the canonical iterative version or whatever. If you want to fire this off again, you can sort of consult this. So this could get like the next, maybe like the next window or something. And then we
Mhm.
compare from like the next date or whatever. So what if it's like time to that maybe what if it's date, let's say plus, you know, uh I don't know, occurrence date. And then here it's like kind. I think I can make these symbols, hopefully. I do weekly. Then we do, what would that be? One a week. I guess it's just, it actually might just be this really, next window.
Mm.
Come to think of it. Let's try that. Then we do monthly, and then we do month from now. So I guess this is a little bit time sensitive to when you run it. That might not be
Yeah.
the best,
Yeah.
but let's try and start with this one a year from
I'm
now.
wondering, looking at this, if we need to track. This
Last
makes
set that
me
or something.
the start and end of this timing, since
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
because then from there we would know what the next window. Then we don't need to know from now. We could just say, I
yeah,
don't know if that's right, but I'm just thinking like
yeah.
if we give it the boundaries, then we know that the kind is weekly, but the boundary is from Sunday to Sunday or Tuesday to Tuesday or whatever. Um,
Something like this, or I'm not quite sure. Let me back
oh,
out
so
of that.
maybe if the timing is like just if this instance of timing has the last cent, then we can build off of that.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out the difference between the stuff that's more like the blueprint in a way of sending things, and then the
Mhm.
delivery aspect itself of specific delivery.
Right.
Like say that you have a subscription to some software somewhere.
Mhm.
There's the general subscription, but then there's each charge per month, essentially.
Right.
It's got a
Yeah.
similar flow here. I'm not quite
Mhm.
sure how to tease that out, but maybe we should actually pause on that for now and go back to some of the other stuff.
Okay.
I think. So I feel like this is getting nitty-gritty quite fast, and I'm like, I'm not
Mhm.
sure where to go with this yet. So I feel like I want some more info around the rest of the system.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of curious if we had something like a report delivery in a way. And that's where the timing thing comes into play of, so this might have a delivered at or something.
Mhm.
Deliver at. And maybe this is where we have many items, bundles, something like that, to map it to each person that you're delivering it to. So this is the report is in many ways where the blueprint, the schema is for how do we actually generate these deliveries each time this occurring time window happens, I think.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Is report like the template for what each user
Yeah.
would be filling out then?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure because that's the questions in a way. I'm almost wondering if that should be its own object too, and report is almost more like just a general namespace.
Mhm.
for this stuff, but I'm not sure. Let's see.
It does feel like
Yeah,
that we need a representation of the report template as its own concept, where the questions are for the generic concept of the report are maintained. And then when you go to generate or deliver the reports to users for a particular window of time, it's almost going to need to snapshot that. So we know the questions at that point in time were this. And so they can answer those particular questions. And because one of the challenges here is that if the template changes in the future, we need to know that in the past, when a certain report was submitted, it had these particular questions that are different from what the template shows now. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. We kind of want to make sure that that gets frozen in time along with the specific whatever happened in a way. Um, because I'm almost wondering where if you want something like this where we're just taking so this deliver has a sense of like I guess that's a deliver from whatever, and then we get passed into template.
Hmm.
And the template has a sense of which users are supposed to go to, and then it has a sense of all those questions.
Hmm.
Um, for each user, I'm not quite sure what we want to do there. It's almost like we want to do a specific delivery just for this one user, but take all the questions and kind of like copy them over in a way or duplicate them or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, just so they keep getting frozen time, but they're kind of like a point of reference to the question at the time, I
Yeah.
guess, but it's almost like, do we actually want to duplicate the questions at the time we're delivering them? I kind of feel like we do want to do that so that they're frozen in time when you're like delivering a report,
Yeah.
even though it could make the table kind of grow a lot if we're doing like potentially daily or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's just kind of, I don't know how else to enforce that if you want the like frozen state to compare with against the past.
Yeah.
Unless there's a different way we could do that where we're just like freeze it differently or something like that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. This seems to be the most straightforward way to go about that, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Let's see.
This is
Uh
one of the big challenges with the current system that I'm proposing this from, is that it doesn't have this concept. It's lacking that, and so knowing what the report should have looked like 2 years ago and what it looks like now, there's no continuity between the two, or it's
yeah,
not
there's no
clear.
way. It's like there's some I mean I haven't seen the system, so I don't know, but it sounds like there's potentially some modeling missing that
Hmm.
would allow
Yeah.
for that kind of so there's almost like this gap where we have to reinvent the past to like, oh, this
Yeah.
came from somewhere and we have some of the responses there, but where did they actually come or what were they responding to in a way or like that?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Missing
So in the ideal
coherences.
case, it might even be a backfill after this re-architecture to go sort of try to reconstitute what that the report would have looked like at those earlier stages,
Yeah,
with these deliveries or whatever it ends up being.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. Uh Yeah, let's see. Now I'm kind of curious where to go maybe next with some of this. I think I actually want to make this template timing. I think that fits a little bit better in a way. But
Mhm.
that's based on that template, and the timing is where we generate the next. Yeah, I don't know, something here. Yeah, I feel a little bit lost about where to go with the next part. Mhm.
What if we try to tackle where answers from users get stored?
Yeah, yeah, because now we've got the template here, and then in here we have these questions, which is that where you can add or remove over time. So you
Hmm.
can tweak the template. And
Yeah.
then at the next delivery, all those questions kind of get copied over and attached to, I guess, the whatever specific delivery you're doing. Uh, and what was I thinking about? Uh, yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, let's try the what we're saying doing.
Like where we might store answers to questions.
Right.
So we'll need something to hold the response that people submit for a particular report, for a particular question. Um,
Yeah. Report belongs to that delivery. Maybe it's actually easier to make the delivery itself.
Mhm.
Do that, do that. Right there, an answer. I guess it also belongs to a specific
To the question
user,
too.
essentially. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I guess the delivery, does the delivery hold the association to the user?
yeah, it might. Because I think delivery is sort of a general purpose one, but I almost want like a delivery. Oh, so delivery is for the general sending it out for each user. And I
Okay.
think it might want to have belongs to that report, and then from there it gets the template. And then I guess delivery there, question answer, user. Because then I want this to have a second thing. Let's take this. We then do like an item potentially.
Mhm.
And then here it's the user. And then maybe it has many questions here.
Mhm.
So that's why this could be a specific email that gets sent out to that
Mhm.
user, like, hey, you have these questions and the timing window is this or whatever, like a maybe a do at or something or do on for that.
Mhm.
And then this is for each of the questions in the the item essentially. Oh, what if we do actually a quest maybe? Or it's a reply
Hmm.
request maybe? I feel like I like reply a little bit better. Copy. Step. Does that make sense, sort of?
I think so. So the delivery does the delivery then create all of the reply requests for each user
Yes.
that this report should be? Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then
What if we
we have a
do, so we
reply
have the,
request, and that's where we would have sort of the completion, the concept of a completion percentage or something for this.
yeah, through these ones. So I
Mhm.
suppose we could say the reply request has whether or not it's actually, that's also interesting whether or not we want to support like partial replies. Like
Mhm.
I don't, oh, I have the answer to all the questions, but
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, in this system, it would be like they might go in and make multiple passes on it. So they might go in and answer 5 of the questions that they know right now, but they've got to go do some research and come back with 3 more and then 2 more. Finally, somebody might actually reach out to them and say, hey, we need this final answer to this thing. You really need to answer that, and so we can get this closed.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
interesting because that sounds like we actually don't want the questions themselves. We want some in between there that could track like replied status or satisfy or something like that, that it's been replied to. And then that links to the question, I think, if that makes sense. I don't know what we call that. Like,
how would that relate to the user or to the answer? What is an answer to the question similar to that?
yeah, good question. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure. Uh,
Because it could be that we create answer records that are incomplete.
right.
I don't know if that's
Oh
the
yeah,
best way to do it, but
that's,
it could be that the answers get generated with the questions, um, this
yeah, and then
copy of the
they're,
questions.
yeah, and then they're actually kind of like apply to or whatever, or answer, I guess,
Mhm.
or satisfied. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then that's a Boolean whether or not it is or whatnot. Or you do like a, maybe it's actually like an answer that. So we put the whole column thing. It's like answered is whether or not we have an answered at set. So we can track
Mhm.
when they reply to this thing, and so they can maybe track something there or whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
There's
I
something
think that
maybe a
makes
little bit
sense.
funny about saying answer. I know, and I'm
Yeah,
sort
an
of
answer to
responding to
whether or
what
not
I
it's
said,
answered.
because it's like if you have an answer, then it has to be like, can an
Yeah,
answer not be answered?
yeah,
Um, but you can have it's almost like what do you call the thing that is the blank on a report that you're filling out? Because if you leave it
yeah.
blank, um,
Oh yeah, response. Eric says a response. That's interesting.
mhm.
Maybe it's responded. Could be something like that.
Yeah.
Pre-filled answer, template answer. Oh wait, was this the same thing, the reply request? I think that might actually be the same thing.
Oh, I thought the reply request was this user's set of questions for this timing for this template. Am
Right.
I thinking about that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because that's the general one, and then it has all the different
Mhm.
answers in there. In the chat, Daniel was saying submission. I actually kind of like, I like that.
Mm.
I think we should try to go with that. Whether or not the submission is then
Yeah.
fulfilled, I want to say. I feel like that
Mhm.
seems closer. Mhm. So that's almost like, that would be kind of interesting. What if there's, let's try it out, because now we might be mixing terms. Because I think
Mhm.
there's something interesting about having a delivery submission, but
Mhm.
then also like for each specific question, there's also a submission.
Answer.
So you kind of like,
submission.
in a way, it might be not a great idea.
Yeah. We just yeah.
Mhm. Because now I feel like we have that term that we could use here, where instead of
Mhm.
the questions, we have this like, I think it would actually be question. Oh, what if it's, now I do kind of want them to do question submissions.
Mhm.
And then through, if we want to, I don't know if we need to have a,
Right. We may not even need it. Yeah.
yeah, but something like that potentially.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I like that.
so these question submissions are now these things, and they
Mhm.
belong to a, let's say a delivery submission actually.
Mhm.
Okay. And then there's something about copying over the question or like attaching it to what are we actually
Yeah.
trying to apply to.
So it can
And
have a
then,
belongs to the question maybe.
yeah, potentially. I still feel like there's something about those questions. Belongs to question. It's just like when we want that thing between like a template question and then on each build of
Yeah.
the template or making of that delivery, it's like, oh, it actually becomes like a real thing. Because before
Yeah.
then it's just like a template for things you want to have answers to. And then
Right.
they get, yeah, I think that's
So
kind of
maybe
what
a
I want.
delivery
So
question.
yeah, I think so. What if we do that? So now for each delivery, we actually have this question, and then that's built from the template.
Mhm.
So it doesn't carry as much state in a way because you can't
Yeah.
edit them. They're kind of frozen. You're just like, oh,
Right.
right. Or should you be able to do that? I'm thinking
The
about it.
benefit here is that like yeah, you can't at this point we know that questions don't get touched after the delivery questions don't get touched after they're generated for this delivery. So we don't
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
worry about any kind of data drift when answering
Right. And
the
so when you add a question to a report, that only happens on the next like delivery of it,
yeah,
I guess.
yeah, add or remove or change the order of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, if that's a hard requirement, then that I think that makes some things easier
mhm.
versus also being able to like, hey, this report has had a new question added to it.
Yeah,
You've got to fill that out now too. So now your previous submission that was fulfilled is no longer fulfilled. So
yeah.
um oh, another thing I thought about here, we could also have this stack with the each of the question one. So what is it? Question submissions dot all fulfilled, I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think that kind of starts stacking nicely of
Mhm.
to ask these questions.
Yeah.
And okay. So the delivery question there is some sort of copy of the template questions in here.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, so it's probably belongs to the question, the template question.
yeah,
I'm
or do we
thinking.
want to just copy them over? Because I'm wondering if we have a question here. What if this is just a like it has a title or something, or
Mhm.
maybe like that, or it's just like you got to reply to what was the uh what's one of the questions potentially that people would be asked system.
Oh, how many members do you have this year or this?
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And so you might be tracking membership uh, count or how many new members did you acquire this year? And so you want to compare those across all orgs or users or then to past years. One of the reasons that there will be a need to connect to the template question is so that you can compare year to year. or period to
Yeah,
period, whatever the timing is, the
yeah,
interval is.
true.
So it could be that there's not that what's displayed is not coming from the template, but there does need to be some common thread that runs through them all, so that when you go to do comparisons
Yeah.
from one delivery to the next, you
But then
can.
what happens if you do a compare? So if you move a question, are you then like, oh, I don't care about the comparison for this for like next year's report essentially, and then we also lose it from the previous year's report in a way?
If
Um,
you No, you want to keep it when in the comparison. Yeah, that's interesting. So that could mean building out something else, but I think we could say, for the sake of this discussion, maybe the template as it currently is may not represent all the things that in past historical reports, all the data available in past reports. So if we delete a question out of the template, we still want to retain its information from historic report deliveries, so that we can still compare values of prior years. Even if we no longer want people to answer this question, um, we still want to know what those values were in the past,
yeah,
be able
yeah,
to compare those values. And if we
yeah,
add a new question, we don't need to backfill it for the old ones, but we do want to show that information moving forward in CSV exports or something like that.
yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. So really what we're trying to answer here, this belongs to a template question, is how do we compare between these different versions?
Mhm.
And what's the canonical representation of some sort of question?
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering, once you've added a question, can you then edit it? Or like, can you edit the title of it or like the type of it? Or are you
Yeah.
really like destroying the old question and replacing it with a new one in a way? That's kind of
This has
some
been one of
tricky
the
bits
big
there too.
challenges that I've had with this, that particular issue. What I've come to the conclusion about personally on the project I've been on is that um, a question can have its title changed, but as in reworded, but its meaning and intent cannot change. That if you want to have a question with a very different, with a different intent, which might answer a different, like where the answer would be different, then you need to create a different question. But
Right.
if you just,
Yes.
if you had a misspelling or the question wasn't clear, you could edit that, but
Right.
the
So like the
intent must stay
title
the
and
same.
potentially description, why do we want this or whatever, you could fix that or touch that up. But as it stands, like if you add a question and it's a Boolean thing, you can't just change that into like, oh, we're expecting a number value. You kind of want to like replace it in a way, or
Yeah.
well, that would actually be interesting if you had a controller action that was sort of like replace a question. Like if we had something like I
Mhm.
guess it would be reports, reports,
Mhm.
reports. That's great. Reports, what would we say? Templates. And then now we go, here we go. Replacements
Mhm.
controller, and then we're creating a replacement. So what we're doing is we have the ID of the old one,
Mhm.
and then we're trying to actually destroy that. But what we want to do is take all the old replies and answers and copy them over to the new one, I think.
Mhm.
I think that could kind of work because with the stuff we've set up here with the submissions and having this, oh yeah, what did we do here? What was our intent here with the question
The
here?
delivery question, maybe, is that where
Yeah, probably
that
let's
connects
let's
to?
do that. Yeah, I think so. So because what was I thinking? Because then I think we could go back because these delivery questions are a copy from that time. They don't get changed. So they could handle being of a different type. So if we want to like, oh, I have a Boolean, but now I
Mhm.
actually want to ask for more detail and get a text field where they can set in a value or something like that. And but then for the old reports that were delivered, because we copied things over, we could have this, these could kind of be static in a way where it's like, oh, well, at the time you asked for a Boolean, but because we copied the template over, we had a static representation from that time. So we can kind of compare the responses in a way.
Mhm.
I think that makes sense if that makes sense. If you get what I'm
That's
saying or something.
that is probably an extra feature that wouldn't be a hard requirement, but would be a
Yeah,
nice to have.
yeah,
So that definitely creates a lot of flexibility if we went that route. It wouldn't be a hard requirement if it seemed really difficult or something.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think it feels like we're starting to get a system that has all the needed like associations and all these ways of replacing things and pinpointing things with all these
Hmm.
different primary keys and whatever. And at least in my experience, when you start hitting on that, it's like, oh, suddenly I get a ton of flexibility for not that much code because I have all
Hmm.
these different tiny representations of like sort of every facet in a way.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm not quite there yet, but I feel like it's getting there. But there's also a ton of stuff here. I mean, so so it's a lot of complexity to try to wrangle.
Yeah.
But it does seem like there's the like this is its own orthogonal thing, these timings and all this
Hmm.
like finding these windows and so forth. But that would help in generating those when we want to start making that delivery and
Yeah.
having that be the whole batch for things where we want to take all these template questions and generate these expected reply types from that. Oh, you
Hmm.
have a Boolean question in your template question. Well, guess what? That becomes an expected Boolean reply
Hmm.
in a way. And that would still allow for swapping this out when you do that replacement. Like, oh, we could take all the old ones and then move those over to uh swap the old template question out. It's a different type, but it kind of doesn't matter because you're not regenerating a delivery. Uh, right? Does that make sense? I
I think
think
so.
so.
I'm
Okay.
curious what you would do in that create action.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. So let's see, we have a current user that does something. Well, that doesn't necessarily matter. Let's say that we have a report that we're finding params for ID, and then we have the template there where we have all these questions, and then we're finding one of those, I think. Um, I think that's just the ID there, or it's probably I think it's a question ID.
This is like the one that we're going to replace.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the
Mhm.
existing one. So what
Mhm.
if we do? Oh, what does it look like? Question. Let's do a question here. Um, and then somehow we want to replace that on. I think we actually want the template too. Template.
Mm.
Fix it up a bit. Now we have the old question. So now we want to do, let's do a transaction here we'll just write it all out in the controller right for right now. I
Yeah.
don't have a better naming for anything. Do that. So we want to take the old questions. Oh, then we want that whole thing you were talking about. We're having these submissions in a way. Update all. And then we want to do new question. Right. How do we want to generate that? Template here. I'm just gonna write it out. I guess it's gonna be a little bit hacky, but
Yeah, it's
template.
probably coming off the params.
Who knows what it's gonna be there, but new
Yeah.
question, we're creating this. Then we're taking all these ones and passing to the new question dot ID, and then we could do question dot destroy, I think. So we're moving all the submissions, the old submissions, pointing them over to the new question, and then we can destroy the old one.
Hmm.
Something like that. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
like tons of dragons in here that's not quite visible, but I think it shows that the model doesn't, the sketching we've done doesn't completely break at least. And it seems like
Yeah.
it's kind of possible, but I mean, there be dragons, it feels like. So I'm like, this seems almost a little bit too simple. There's probably some stuff we're missing here, but I feel like it's a sign that the modeling does seem to encompass this this potential feature.
The
But
one thing
yeah,
I'm wondering about looking at this is the update all on submissions. If submission has a belongs to the user, what the submission also belongs to a question.
see, yeah, that was the thing where we're kind of question submission. So I guess this is
Oh,
here.
question submission. Yeah, yeah. I was looking at delivery submission. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I think this is the one we're targeting. Template question. So I think in minutes it's actually,
Delivery. Yeah. So it's the delivery
so this
question.
is this is here, yeah. let's see, I don't think we sketched out the template questions. Let's see what that would just look like. Everything's a little jumbled up. Oh. Template question. And then I think this would be that has many submissions, but it's actually those delivery submissions.
Hmm.
So it matches up with the we had here. Oh, I think there's something to try to drive out a little bit more with that whole thing, the difference between the template and delivery. Because I think
Yeah.
there's something there that kind of fits at least, and then it's like finding a one-to-one mapping between all the different entities within there. Like,
Mhm.
what does it look like when you have that template? Because that template could keep being updated with new questions added, maybe replacing the old questions. But
Yeah.
then for the delivery side, we want to take that schema or blueprint and then make them into like a little bit more hard coded that might still
Yeah.
have references back to all this original modeling like we're kind of trying to do here, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm hitting my limit right now of like all the different stuff.
Yeah. I agree with all that. I don't know that we need delivery that the template needs delivery or template submissions or delivery submissions. I'm guessing it doesn't need that. Like the template questions can just stay separate from the delivery questions, would be my guess.
Yeah,
If that makes
like
sense.
here.
In the template, we just need the template and then its questions. We probably don't need any association to submissions, or I can't think of a reason why we would need this delivery submission.
I
Well,
think that was for
okay.
this one here,
Oh,
but I
maybe.
mean we could also just do delivery submission or whatever and
Mhm.
then find them through that where the template question ID. Well, we can actually do this the question
Oh,
something like that, I
yeah.
guess.
Okay.
So we don't need to muck with all that stuff, but we still want to kind of, yeah, it's always like when how do you want to represent it and whatnot? Because this is more of like too much for a control action, especially when we're doing reference accent. It's like,
Yeah.
so I don't know quite where this would go.
Mhm.
Maybe it's on a report template or something like that. We're like trying to swap out a question.
Mhm.
So it would almost look more like, yeah, we have the template there. So let's see, you could do like, just to see what that would look like. Template, but replace. And then we could do like an old question. And then a replacement. Actually, I kind of want to do this in a replacement. Something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's something for later, I think. Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I think this might be kind of my limit for right now, what we could kind of do here. I feel like this is more like we talked about this before, Jeremy, when we were doing one of these things of the difference between having a divergent design phase and then later on a
Mhm.
convergent. And right now it feels like we're still like continually opening we've opened Pandora's box and it's like stuff is just like falling out. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this isn't really coming together right yet, but I like where all of this is going. I'm just
Mhm.
like there's some stuff here that's all this like question and delivery. It feels like there's some terms that could be a little bit clearer, and we have these submissions which I think have something really interesting to them, but it's like I'm having a hard time. Things feel kind of still jumbled together, so I'm
Mhm.
having a hard time making more progress right now because it's like, oh,
Mhm.
this is actually hitting a limit on just through the naming itself. It's like, oh, this we're trying to get some things to make some boundaries, but they're kind of loose in a way. It's like, oh, this is actually not, there's some more like ground to cover. But I'm always like where I'm like, oh, I would actually want to break right now because it's like we've done this and some bits here that are interesting, but I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
can tell I can't push this further right now.
Right. Yeah. It
I
feels
think
like
that's
you
kind of,
could want to come back and do like a second round on it or something.
yeah, yeah. Or maybe
Maybe start over
even,
and
yeah,
see if
I
you come
might
to the
actually
same
even want to
conclusions.
start over. Yeah, in a way and try from a slightly different angle. I like the
Mhm.
stuff with the submission and trying to maybe try to focus on driving out the difference between the template stuff. Maybe actually just
Mhm.
getting all the template stuff correct first and then not touch anything else.
Mhm.
And look at some of that stuff with because we kind of skipped over that, but we focused elsewhere. But I think that might be an interesting angle as like a second thing. By the way, for
Yeah.
people who are watching, if you want to try that, like you have the everything you need to look at it and see what you come up with, and you're welcome to send it to us if you end up trying it and see what you find out. We're gonna put this online too. It's in the Riffing on Rails repo, which is on my GitHub page. We're gonna post a recording of this to YouTube too, so you have it if you want to try it out. And by all means, please do this better than we're doing it. Like this isn't like we have all the answers or anything like that. We're just trying to explore things and see where what we come up with and like, oh, this could be better. I think there's something here, but this is kind of murky, and just trying it out and keep revising and see if we can find better names for things over and over. And sort of learn quickly about all this stuff. Because it might be that right now we could have there's actually an open stakeholder question here. How important is the whole replacements thing? Because it feels like it's interesting, but you might not really want to tackle that at all because it's like, oh, we don't care about that at all. Great, let's actually maybe hard bake it so you can't necessarily do that. Right in the modeling in a way.
Yeah. In this case, it would
Um,
probably be okay if that was never done and it was just if you want to add in a question with a new intent, you create a new one. And you can delete old ones, but it's only a soft delete, they'll remain in the system and
right, yeah. And
really
then they're
can't move
hidden from the
other
reports, all that
questions.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
I think another place, if I was doing another session on this, I would start, maybe not start, but one thing I'd like to explore is the angle of the comparison, the report comparison that you might do. Like if you're trying to gather statistics about like aggregating or graphing out changes for a particular report over time, what the queries look like to pull all of those
Yeah,
report deliveries and their submissions back
right.
and then
Because I
track.
think we have something interesting here where we could take delivery from, like, say if we're what's the profit from this month to next month or whatever. So we have these two different deliveries for each of these months where we could then take the current delivery and then pass it into past delivery. And then because we have all those submissions for each user, we could go in and actually find those and see, oh, you replied this thing this month. And now we can actually, like, in my mind, I keep seeing like a page that has like a kind of like GitHub does, where you can see that the past one or the new one like split,
Mhm.
a split view. So you can see, oh, you replied this month, and last month you replied this, and then it's just like a timeline view essentially. You can just scroll through and see all the submissions, compare with the last month in a detailed view.
Yeah.
So we could do that quite easily. Oh, we could find the old entry and compare with the new entry and put them
Mhm.
side by side, and then the
Yeah.
ones that were added for this month and the ones that were that's no longer there, we could show them kind of at the bottom in a way, something like.
Yeah.
At least that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think that modeling would kind of allow, but I totally hear you on what you're saying with like trying to drill that out more and see if something else will pop out from doing that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. But this is how it happens. Just lots of divergent stuff keeps diverging, and like, oh well, then you don't get to any converging at some point, at least not right now. But I feel like we learned a lot about and got up some big clues about how you might want to try again or look at things differently and stuff like that, and where the complexity lies and so forth. So cool.
Yeah.
If I end screen share here, cool. Um, yeah. So what should we say for wrapping up? You have any?
Yeah. I guess. mm, So we're doing this cohort. Oh, Rob Zolkos. Just like Rob in here. Hey, Rob. We're just wrapping up the riffing session, Rob. If
I'm late. Sorry.
all good. I guess in terms of closing thoughts, we are going to be launching our domain modeling in Rails cohort course in April. It's going to be a 4-week live course. We're limiting it to 12 people so that we can have as much kind of close-knit one-on-one time, not one-on-one, but small group time where we can kind of focus on everybody together. And that is up on Casper's Gumroad now. We're having some issue with Gumroad that we're trying to figure out right now. I've had a couple people
Post it
say
here if people are
they've had
interested.
trouble,
It's
but
in the chat now.
yeah.
Yeah, there's been an issue with, I think it's my Stripe account or something. So I'm gonna be looking at that right after here and see if we can get that sorted. If people are interested to join. Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
What else we want to say?
Definitely thanks for joining. Also you too,
Yeah.
Rob. Better let you know. Nice to see.
I just saw the tweet. I'm like, oh, I should jump on, but yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
all good.
Yeah. We'll post a recording in a bit, probably, or maybe tomorrow or something like that. So it takes too long. Cool.
All right.
We're going to be doing another open session on the what was it?
28th.
28th?
Same time.
Yeah. Cool.
6 p.m. UTC +1. We haven't put that up anywhere, but we could probably do that afterwards. Yeah.
And I think we'll have a guest that time who is sort of bringing the prompt or domain modeling challenge.
Yes. Yeah. So far.
Cool.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining, everybody. So we let me end the recording here a bit. Where do I find it? Where do I find it?